This is lecture 23, and in last lecture we have started discussing Nyquist stability criteria, and we have seen that this particular stability result has been established on the principle of argument. So the condition that we have obtained, that is n equal to p minus z. So this particular condition we have seen from the principle of argument, and in closed loop control system our interest is to see whether closed loop poles lie in this particular region or not. This region is the closed right half plane, and this region is indicated by that Nyquist contour. So one condition is the Nyquist contour should not pass through any poles and zeros of g of s, h of s. So we'll see, that means if we consider loop transfer function g of s and h of s, which has a pole, suppose, on the imaginary axis. So in that case, how to consider that Nyquist contour? That thing we'll be discussing today. So now let us first discuss what is Nyquist stability criteria. So here we have seen that n equal to p minus z. So this n, so if we have n equal to p minus z, so now we can see that z equal to p minus n. So our interest is whether that z equal to 0 or not. If z equal to 0, that means there is no poles of the closed loop system in the open half of that S plane. That means that system would be stable. So for applying that Nyquist stability criteria, basically we need these two information. One is that P, another one is N. So what is N? N is at the counterclockwise rotation enclosing -1 J0 point. So in last class we have discussed, that means if we map through only G of S, H of S, then that critical point would be -1 plus J0. If we map 1 plus G of S, H of S, then that origin would be that critical point. So in Nyquist stability criteria, we will be plotting through that G of S, H of S. So the critical point is -1 plus J0. So then what is P? So P is actually the number of poles of loop transfer function. So loop transfer function means G of S, H of S. So whenever a loop transfer function is given, from there we need to see how many poles are in the closed right half of that S plane, or it is enclosed by Nyquist contour. So loop transfer function enclosed by the Nyquist contour. So Nyquist contour is this one. This one is that Nyquist contour. So how many poles of the loop transfer function are enclosed by that Nyquist contour? So that number is indicated by P. So now what is Z? So this Z is the number of closed loop poles enclosed by the Nyquist contour. So this thing would be clear because in the principle of argument we have seen whenever we are mapping a function, that means this contour is mapped from this S plane to GH plane. So in the principle of argument we have seen that Z is actually the zeros of this particular function. And at the very beginning we have discussed that zeros of 1 plus g of s h of s. Here we can see the zeros of 1 plus g of s h of s are same as the poles of closed loop system. So we are mapping that contour via g of s h of s, not 1 plus g of s h of s. So when we are mapping that contour via g of s h of s, the critical point becomes -1. So when the critical point becomes -1, it is effectively 1 plus g of s h of s. Then we have seen in the principle of argument that zeros of 1 plus g of s h of s is nothing but the closed loop poles. So applying that particular concept, we can see here that Z is actually the closed loop poles. So now interestingly, we can see, say suppose if number of poles, for example, say suppose number of poles in the right half of that S plane, which is enclosed by that Nyquist contour is 1. So now if the counterclockwise rotation of -1 J0 point is equal to 1, so then what happens? 1 minus 1 equal to 0, so Z equal to 0. So Z equal to 0 indicates that there is no closed loop poles enclosed by the Nyquist contour. That means there is no closed loop poles in the right half of that S plane. That means the system is stable. So for stability, what we need? So for stability, we can write here the closed loop stability, the closed loop system is stable if the number of encirclement about -1 J0 in counterclockwise direction is equal to the number of loop transfer function poles in right half plane. So that means whenever p is equal to n, then the z would be equal to 0. So that means the system would be stable. So let us see two examples. So here, say suppose this is that S plane. So this is S plane, and it is that sigma, it is j omega. So the Nyquist contour, we have taken that this is that Nyquist contour. So the important thing is this particular direction of rotation, we have taken clockwise direction. And then suppose poles are here. The loop transfer function, the poles are here. So now we have given one g of s, h of s. So suppose we have that g of s, h of s, and if we plot it, so do not forget to mention that what plane it is, that is g of s, h of s plane. So suppose we get a contour, that means if we map this Nyquist contour into g of s, h of s plane, suppose we get a contour like this. So it is symmetric about that real axis. So suppose this is that contour and it must have some direction. So the direction is suppose this one. So this is the direction. And this is that critical point, 1 plus j0. So now the question is, if we have one g of s, h of s, and the Nyquist contour is like this, Nyquist contour is this one, and this is called that Nyquist plot, because in g of s, h of s, what would be the mapping of that Nyquist contour, that is called that Nyquist plot, which is symmetric about that real axis. So now we are interested in applying that Nyquist stability criteria. So here two poles which are actually the poles of g of s, h of s. They are outside that Nyquist contour region. So here we can have that n equal to that p equal to 0, and here we can see this Nyquist plot, it does not encircle that -1 j0 point, so n is equal to 0. So then what is z? According to that Nyquist stability criteria, z equal to p minus n, that is 0 minus 0, so that is equal to 0. So that means in this particular region there is no closed loop poles, so that means the closed loop system would be stable. So the closed loop system is stable. Closed loop system stable. So that means if we have g of s, h of s, and if this is that Nyquist plot, that means the mapping of Nyquist contour from S plane to g of s, h of s plane, then applying Nyquist stability criteria, we can see that the system is stable. So let us take one more example. So later on we will be taking some numerical values and we will see how to get that map. So suppose we have that real axis, imaginary axis. So this is that S plane. So this is that Nyquist contour. This is that Nyquist contour. And suppose we have again, say suppose two poles or three poles that outside that region, they are in the left half of that S plane. So then if we map this particular contour via that g of s, h of s, suppose we have the Nyquist plot, that is that real and imaginary. Do not forget to mention that plane, that is G of S, H of S plane. So suppose we have Nyquist plot like this, and here the rotation is this one, and this is that -1 point. So in this, if you have this type of Nyquist plot, so then what would be the stability as per the Nyquist stability criteria? So here we can see the number of pole in the enclosed by this Nyquist contour is 0, so P equal to 0. But here you can see that this is that -1 point, and how many encirclement is there? This is 1, and again this is 2. So basically 2 encirclement is there, and this encirclement is in clockwise direction. So if it is in clockwise direction, then you can see that n, because we have taken that clockwise direction, counterclockwise direction is plus n. So as it is clockwise direction, so n would be equal to -2. So then what is z? According to Nyquist stability criteria, we know that z equal to p minus n. We can see from here p minus n. So p here equal to 0. So minus of -2 is equal to 2. So it shows that z equal to 2. That means the closed loop poles, 2 closed loop poles will be in the right half of that S plane. So the system is, the closed loop system is, the closed loop system is unstable. So here we can write that 2 poles are in right half of that S plane. That means it would be enclosed by that Nyquist contour. So here what we have seen, that Nyquist stability criteria says that z equal to p minus n, where p is the number of poles of the loop transfer function enclosed by the Nyquist contour, and n is the counterclockwise rotation enclosing -1 j0. So now we have taken just 2 examples. That means if we have some GH and if we have the Nyquist plot like that, so just based on the information of the encirclement about that -1 j0 point, that is one information. And other information we need, that is the open loop or the loop transfer function pole. So based on these 2 information, we'll be able to say whether the closed loop system would be stable or not. So now we will see that whenever G of S, H of S has poles and or zeros on the j omega axis, what would be the Nyquist contour? So when G of S, H of S has poles and or zeros on the j omega axis, then what would be the Nyquist contour? As we have pointed out, that means Nyquist contour should not pass through the G of S, H of S pole or zeros. So suppose that G of S is that S plane. So this is that S plane, and here you have that real axis. This is imaginary axis. So this is S plane. So suppose we have one pole at origin. So if we have a pole at origin, so we can take one example. So here that is G of S. Suppose that G H S equal to suppose 1 by S Ts plus 1. So then we can see here that it has one pole at origin, another pole is at minus 1 by T. So it has another pole at minus 1 by T. So in this particular case, what would be the Nyquist contour? So Nyquist contour is taken just excluding this particular point. So if you exclude that point and if you go like this, so this one is your Nyquist contour. So that means this is that direction is coming here. So this particular point, is actually 0 minus, and this particular point is 0 plus. So just excluding that pole, we will be taking the Nyquist contour. So in this case, what happens? So this particular point, as we have discussed, that is that minus infinity, 0 j minus infinity. So we can say that this is minus j infinity, and this is that 0 minus, this is 0 plus, and that is j infinity. And we have discussed that this particular thing is r e to the power j theta, where r is tending to infinity. So now let us consider on this particular part. So this particular part, if we draw again, this is the zoomed version of this one. So we have that pole here, and we have drawn like this. So this is the zoomed version of this particular portion. So this is that 0, and as we have pointed out, this is 0 minus, this is 0 plus, and we are going like this, the arrow is like that. So what would be the variation here? So that omega is varying, say infinity, say minus infinity here to 0 minus at this point, to 0 plus this point, to plus infinity. So this is actually the variation of omega. So now we have seen that there is a small semicircle with, so this one is represented as epsilon e to the power j theta, and where epsilon is tending to 0. It is a very small circle. Just to exclude that pole, we have taken a small semicircle where epsilon tends to 0 and theta is varying. We can see that whenever you are here, the theta is minus 90 degree. So theta is varying. We can write that epsilon tends to 0 and theta varies as whenever you are here at this particular point, theta is minus 90 degree. You can see here this is minus 90 degree, and when you are here, that is 0, to when you are here, that is plus 90 degree. So that means S equal to So how to describe this particular semicircle? So that means S would be equal to epsilon e to the power j theta, where epsilon tends to 0 and theta is varying from minus 90 degree to 0 to plus 90 degree. And here this is that variation of that omega. So we can see here that means minus infinity to 0 minus to 0 plus to plus infinity, and then we'll be following that bigger semicircle. So the other case is if we have suppose two complex conjugate poles on the imaginary axis. Suppose this is that real and this is imaginary. So this is that S plane. So if we have poles like that, then what would be that Nyquist contour? So Nyquist contour would be like this. There will be one small semicircle to exclude that point, then another one, and this is actually that contour, Nyquist contour. So do not forget to mention that arrow. So this is that Nyquist contour. So then we can see here how that omega will be varying. So this particular point, this particular, suppose this is minus a, that is j minus a, and this is plus ja, and this is that 0. So this particular point is minus a minus, and here this is minus a plus, and here this particular point is a minus and this is a plus. And as we have discussed, this is 0 minus and 0 plus. So omega will be varying, and this is that minus j infinity and this is plus j infinity. So how that omega is varying? Omega, so variation of omega in this particular case, we can see that it goes to minus infinity to minus a minus, then to minus a plus this point, then it is coming to this point to 0 minus, then this point to 0 plus, then this point to a minus to a plus, here to plus infinity. So this is that variation. So here what we have seen, whenever g of s, h of s has any pole or zeros on the imaginary axis, we need to take one Nyquist contour, just excluding those points. And how to describe those points? That would be that epsilon e to the power j theta, and that epsilon will be tending to 0, and then theta will be varying from minus 90 to 0 to plus 90, and we can take that Nyquist contour as before. So now let us see how to map that Nyquist contour in G of S, H of S plane. So that is actually called that Nyquist plot. So let us take one example. So suppose G of S, H of S, that is equal to 1 by S square plus 0.8 S plus 1. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to find, that means if you have a Nyquist contour. So first of all, this is that g of s, h of s. So it does not have any pole or zero on the imaginary axis. So that means we can take that Nyquist contour like this. So this is that Nyquist contour, and this is that Nyquist contour. So this is that real and this is imaginary axis. So this is that S plane. This is that 0. So we are trying to find, that means if we map this Nyquist contour over this g of s, h of s, where g of s, h of s is this one, then what would be the plot in g of s, h of s, which is called that Nyquist plot. So the first step is we need to get that gj omega, hj omega. That means what would be that steady state frequency response. So whenever you will be drawing that Nyquist plot, the first step is to replace s by j omega. So if we replace that one, we get that j of this omega plus 1, and you just rationalize it. So if you rationalize that one, so you would have 1 minus omega square minus j 0.8 omega divided by 1 minus omega square plus 0.64 omega square. So now we need to write it in real part and imaginary part. So if we write it in real part and imaginary part, we can see that. So this is that real part plus j of that minus 0.8 omega 1 minus omega square plus 0.64 omega square. So this is that real part and imaginary part. So now from this particular expression we can see that when the real part would be equal to 0, so real part would be equal to 0 means this part would be equal to 0, and we can see here at omega equal to plus minus rad per second that real part would be equal to 0, and for imaginary part when omega equal to 0 then it would be 0. So we'll be coming to that point again later. So now the second step is we need to find what would be that value when omega is tending to 0. So when omega is tending to 0, we can see here that is g of s, h of s, that is this one, and when omega is tending to 0, then what value we'll get, that is we can see here if j omega, that is omega is tending to 0 here, so that is equal to 1, that is 1 angle 0, and what would be the value whenever omega tending to infinity. So omega tending to infinity, you can see as it is strictly proper plane from here, omega tending to infinity, so basically that would be 0. So now as we have discussed earlier, so this is the j infinity and this is minus j infinity, and this particular radius is r e to the power j theta, and here you can see that r is tending to infinity and theta is varying from plus 90 to 0 to minus 90. So let us see how to get the mapping of this particular part. So this particular part means, so from here to here, so this particular part is that s would be equal to r e to the power j theta, where r is tending to infinity and theta varies from plus 90, you can see here this is that plus 90 to 0 degree, that means this point, to minus 90, to minus 90. So that means to get the map of this particular part of that Nyquist contour, we need to follow this method. So in place of S, you just replace R e to the power j theta. So then this particular step you need to follow, that when R is tending to infinity, so what would be R e to the power j theta. So in place of, you replace R e to the power j theta. So we are trying to find what is the mapping of this part of that Nyquist contour. So then if we replace that one, we will get that R square e to the power j2 theta plus 0.8. We are just replacing R s equal to R e to the power j theta here and here. So then we get R e to the power j theta plus 1. So now we can see that whenever R is tending to infinity, so here we can say that limit R tending to infinity. So this particular term will be dominating one. So here you will get that as it is 2 theta. So in the denominator, this particular term would be dominating one. So that would be minus 2 theta. So now we can see that theta is varying from plus 90 to 0 to minus 90. The reason is the contour is coming following like this. The contour is coming like that. So this is that plus 90, then this is 0, and this is minus 90, and the arrowhead is like this. So if theta is varying like that, so then what would be this variation? This variation would be 0 whenever theta equal to plus 90, that would be minus 180 degree. 2, when theta equal to 0, that would be angle 0 degree. 2, whenever this is minus 90 degree, then it would be 180 degree. So you may take some more intermediate point like this angle, so that is plus 45 degree, this is minus 45 degree. So if you take some intermediate point, so then that information that you would have more information, so then there is a less chance of getting wrong mapping. So in this particular case, just we have taken 3 points, and let us see what would be the Nyquist plot. So then what we have done, whenever one g of s, h of s is given, the first point is you replace s equal to j omega and then rationalize it and get that real part and imaginary part. And then then the second step is you find what is the value when omega tending to 0, and when omega tending to infinity, what is that value, and what is the mapping for this particular part, and that is you replace s equal to R e to the power j theta and follow this step. So then we have all the information. We are now going to plot the Nyquist plot. So do not forget to mention that this particular plane is that GH plane, and we have that real and imaginary. So now we can see that whenever omega is 0, so that means you are starting from this point. Omega equal to 0. So omega equal to 0 means your value is 10. So your value is 10 means you are here. So now you keep on increasing that omega and you are traversing like this. So when you are increasing that omega, and finally you will get that omega equal to omega tending to infinity. So when omega is tending to infinity, you have seen that it is 0. So now the point is, you may come like this. This is that 0 value, or you may come like that, or you may come like this. So there are many provisions. You do not know how it would be coming to that 0 point. So now that thing we need to analyze, that how this particular map will get here. So I hope you understand that this is actually that omega equal to 0 point. Omega equal to 0 point, this value is 1. And we have seen that when omega tends to infinity, so that means in the contour whenever you are here, so then that value equal to 0. This value equal to 0, but we do not know how it would come. So then we need to concentrate on here. So that means you can see that imaginary part would be equal to 0 when omega equal to 0. So imaginary part equal to 0 means that is on the real axis. So that means if this Nyquist plot comes like this, so that means there would be many frequencies whenever that imaginary axis would be equal to 0. But you can see here, imaginary axis would be equal to 0 only when omega equal to 0 and omega equal to infinity. So that means there is no way of cutting this real axis at many frequencies. So that means this particular option is ruled out. So that means only omega equal to 0, that frequency, and omega tending to infinity, that frequency, it will cut that real axis. Now let us see whether it will come like this or it will cut this particular axis. So whenever it cuts that imaginary axis, that means that real part would be equal to 0. So we can see that when the real part is 0, yes, that means when omega equal to plus minus 1. So plus minus 1 means here you can see that we are increasing that frequency from omega equal to 0 to omega equal to infinity. So there is one frequency, that is omega equal to 1 rad per second, where it cuts this particular axis because the real part becoming 0. So real part, because on the imaginary axis you can see that real part equal to 0, and this particular value equal to omega equal to 1, and minus 1 is the other side, this side. So that's why at omega equal to 1 it cuts that imaginary axis. So that means it would come and it cuts. So this particular frequency is omega equal to 1. So now the point is, would it cut this one? No, because we have seen that omega equal to 0 and omega equal to infinity are only the two frequencies where its imaginary axis equal to 0. So the imaginary part equal to 0. That means it will come to the real axis. So that means there is no way. So it will come to the origin. So now the point is origin. So it would come here or here. So any point it can come. So now we can see this particular thing. That means whenever r is tending to infinity, so that means whenever you are here and theta equal to 90 degree, what is that value? That value is coming 0 minus 180 degree. So 0 minus 180 degree means, so this is actually minus 180 degree axis, this axis. So that means on that side, you reach on that side, the left on the minus 180, this side. And this is actually that minus 180 degree axis. So this is 0 degree axis. So that means you reach at this particular point and it is tending to 0. So now what happens? Whenever you are moving like this, like that, what is the value whenever you have that theta equal to 45 degree? So then you can see that theta equal to 45 degree means, so here 0 to minus 180 degree to 45 degree. So that means 0, 0, angle 90 degree, minus 90 degree. So whenever this is 45 degree. So what is that 0 angle minus 90? So this axis is minus 90 degree axis. That means you will be here. And then you have that 0 angle 0. So you are here. Then again, say 0 angle 90 degree. You are here. And then 0 angle 180, you are here. So basically there would be a small circle like this, and it is that symmetric with respect to the real axis. So I am just zooming this particular point, what is happening here at 0. So this is that 0. So you reach here very close to that minus 180 degree axis, because it never cuts that real axis, the reason we have seen. So it comes very close to that minus 180 degree axis when omega tends to infinity, and then it goes like this and then like that. So this is actually the zoomed version of this particular point here, and they all are very close. So they are actually tending to, so they are tending to 0. So just I have shown here to show the phase. That means how that phase is changing. Phase is changing 0 to minus 180 degree, to 0 to minus 90, then 0 to 0 degree. So like this. So this axis is 0 degree axis, this is minus 180 degree, this is minus 90 degree axis, and this is 90 degree axis. So that means there would be a rotation at 0, tending to 0. They are very close, so should not be confused. They are very close, that means close to that 0. So this is that Nyquist plot. So what we have seen here, whenever g of s, h of s is given, and this is that Nyquist contour. So how to get that Nyquist plot? So this is that Nyquist plot, and here you can see that the minus 1 point is here. So minus 1 point is here. So number of encirclement n equal to 0, number of encirclement, and here you can see the number of poles inside this region p equal to 0. So then what is that Nyquist stability criteria? That z equal to p minus n. So that is 0 minus 0, that is equal to 0. So closed loop system would be stable. So that means if you take a negative feedback closed loop system with loop transfer function, this one, so then you can see that system would be stable, because this is the Nyquist plot, and we have seen that the Nyquist plot does not encircle minus 1 J0 point, and there is no pole inside that region. So that would be equal to n is equal to 0 as well as p is equal to 0. So according to the Nyquist stability criteria, it would be stable. So let us take one more example. So this is that, suppose you have that g of h of s equal to 1 by s plus 1. So now you can see that what would be the Nyquist contour. So this is that real and this is imaginary, and here we have, so this is that S plane, and we can see that you have a pole here. So this is minus 1, and you have a pole on the imaginary axis. So the Nyquist contour would be like this, just excluding that origin. So Nyquist contour is this one. So now what would be the plot? what would be the Nyquist plot? That means if you map this particular Nyquist contour via this G of S, H of S, what would be that plot in G of S, H of S plane? So the first step, as we have discussed, you need to do that G of S, H of S, J omega. First step is this one. You replace S equal to J omega. So if you replace that one, you would have omega square plus J omega. And if you rationalize that one, because you need to just write in real part and imaginary part. So you have minus omega square to the power 4 omega square minus j of omega to the power 4 omega square. So then you have omega square plus 1 minus j of 1 by omega square plus 1. So this is that real part and imaginary part. And the next step, that means you can see that the imaginary part and the real part, here imaginary part would be not equal to 0, and we can see what happens in this particular part. That means this is that origin, and here we have discussed that this is that part going like this. So this is that 0, so this is 0 minus and this is 0 plus, and this is minus 90 degree axis, this is 0 degree, and this is plus 90 degree axis. So let us see how it works. And here we have to take a small s equal to epsilon e to the power j theta, where epsilon is tending to 0 because it is a very small semicircle. So then your first step is, the second step is just replace with epsilon e to the power j theta. So then what you will get, if you just replace it here at s equal to epsilon to the power j theta, so here limit epsilon tends to 0, 1 by epsilon e to the power j theta divided by epsilon e to the power j theta plus 1, that is s plus 1. So then what will you get? Limit epsilon tends to 0. So if limit epsilon tends to 0, g of s, h of s e to the power j theta, then you can see that when epsilon is tending to 0, so this part would be equal to approximately equal to 1. So basically this part would be there, and 1 by 0, that would be infinity. So here infinity, and the angle contribution would be this one theta, so that is minus theta. And now you can see that theta is varying from minus 90 to 0 to plus 90. So that means infinity, it would be varying like this, minus theta, so minus 90 degree, that is plus 90 degree, to infinity angle 0 degree, to infinity angle minus 90 degree. So that means whenever you will be mapping this particular contour to G of S, H of S plane, then you will see that for this particular part there will be this variation. And then let us see what happens. So that means if you just look at this Nyquist contour here, so that means you are here, then you are here, then you just keep on increasing that value and you are traversing through that Nyquist contour, then finally you will be coming at that point, that is j infinity. So what would be that value of infinity when omega tending to infinity? So limit you can see that omega tending to infinity g h j omega. So whenever omega tending to infinity here, so that would be equal to 0, that is 0, and you can see that this particular part, so it would be described like this. This is that capital R e to the power j theta and capital R is tending to infinity. So S equal to R e to the power j theta, just replace with that. So that means GH, that R e to the power j theta. If you replace with that, then what will you get? You will get that R e to the power j theta plus R e to the power j theta plus 1. So now limit R tending to infinity g of h R e to the power j theta. So that one would be equal to, you can see that that is nearly approximately equal to infinity, and that one also infinity, so that would be 0. And here you have that theta, here you have theta, so basically the angle contribution would be minus 2 theta as they are in the denominator, so it would be minus 2 theta. And then you can see this is that 90 degree, this is 90 degree to 0 degree to minus 90 degree. So whenever theta is varying 90 degree to 0 degree to minus 90 degree, so this variation would be 0. Whenever 90 degree, that would be minus 180 degree to 0 angle 0 degree to angle 0 180 degree. So that means for this particular branch, we have seen that at 0 near origin there would be this particular variation. So now let us see that whenever omega is tending to infinity, then what would be that real part and imaginary part? When omega tending to infinity, that is equal to 0, but when omega tending to 0, you can see here that when omega tending to 0, so this part is coming j minus j infinity, but this part is coming minus 1. So when omega tending to infinity 0, so basically it is coming to this value minus 1 j infinity. You can see here whenever omega is equal to 0 tending to 0, so that is coming minus 1. So what would be that plot? We can see here that, so this is that g of s h of s plane, this is g of s h of s plane, and then we can see this part. So we have started from here, that is 0 minus to 0 to 0 plus. So whenever 0 minus to 0 plus, we can see here when that no, this is r tending to infinity. So here we can see that it is coming to infinity minus angle, so infinity 90 degree. So infinity 90 degree means this is that point, that is that infinity, j infinity 90 degree. But as omega tends to 0, when omega tending to 0, this value is coming minus 1 plus minus 1 minus j infinity. So here you can see that, so minus 1 point is here, and it is starting from, so this is that point, that is minus 1 minus j infinity. So whenever omega tending to 0 and you are at 0 minus, so then that value is coming that omega, that is minus 1 j infinity. So then you can see that zero infinity 90 degree to infinity 0 to infinity minus 90 degree. So infinity 0 is, so that is equal to minus plus j infinity. So that means you are here, that is infinity 90 degree. You are here whenever you are at 0 minus point, infinity 90 here. So you are here, then whenever you are moving like this, moving like that, and whenever you are here on this particular axis 0 angle 0, your value is coming infinity 0 degree. And then you can see that whenever you are at this particular point, then this value is coming infinity minus 90 degree. So basically there would be a rotation here at 0. So this is that angle 0, that is infinity angle 0, and you are coming, and finally you are coming to this particular point, and which is actually, as it is infinity minus infinity and it is only minus 1, it is very close to minus 90 degree. So you are at this particular point, and then you can see that you are here, you are here. So then if you just moving along this particular direction, so that is minus infinity to 0 minus. So then you can see that what happens in case of infinity. So when r tending to infinity, it is 0, and it is 0 minus 180 degree to 0 angle 0 to 0 angle 180 degree. So that means, so here we have seen, that means this particular part here we are here. So I think I have missed that one. That means here epsilon e to the power j theta, so infinity to 90 degree, infinity to 0, and infinity to minus 90 degree. So this is actually this particular part. So that means here this particular part is actually the mapping of this particular part. So now you are here. So then you just keep on increasing that value, and when omega is increasing at this particular point, it would be omega tending to infinity. And let us see when omega tends to infinity. So that means you are here, that means it is tending to 0, and that is minus 180 degree point. So that is that minus 180 degree point, and we'll be following the same logic. So it would be minus 180 degree. Then we can see here, that means you are here, then if you just traverse like this, that is 0 angle 0, then 0 angle that infinity angle minus 90 degree, and you can see that 0 angle minus 180, 0 angle 0, 0 angle 180 degree. So basically you will be having one small loop here, and you will be coming here. So then you can see that whenever this particular Nyquist plot is moving from this particular point to that 0, then it may cross this point, this axis, or this axis. But that can be analyzed just by looking at this particular expression. So there is no other frequencies in between 0 and in between infinity where that real axis, or the real part would be equal to 0. So real part is equal to 0 means it will cut that imaginary axis, but there is no frequency, and there is no frequency except that infinity, that this imaginary part would be equal to 0. Imaginary part equal to 0 means it will cut that real axis. So there is no frequency, so that means it would come from this point to that point. So let us see what we have done here. So this is actually that point. That means as there is a 0 at origin, so we need to exclude that one, and this is that Nyquist contour, and we have started from this 0 minus, and we have seen that whenever that 0 minus is there, so that means it is at infinity 90 degree, infinity to 0, infinity to minus 90 degree. So that small particular part, this particular small semicircle is mapped in Nyquist plane like this one, the bigger one. That is, it is varying from infinity 90 degree to infinity to 0 and infinity to minus 90 degree. So now the question is, so this is that 90 degree point, but this is not 90 degree point, but as it is only -1 and this is infinity, so that means we can take it as very close to 90 degree. The reason why we have taken -1 point, because we have seen that whenever omega tends to 0, it is giving -1 minus j infinity. So that means it is actually will be going along this asymptote, that is -1. If you draw that line, perpendicular line, it will be going like this. So then in the Nyquist contour, so we reach here at this particular point, we reach here, and then if we just keep on increasing that omega value, that means from 0 to infinity, then we have seen that what happens at infinity. When omega tends to infinity, it comes to that 0 angle minus 180 degree. So this is that 0 angle minus 180 degree point, and there would be a small circle here. So this is that arrow, and then we have seen that whenever it is varying from omega 0 to infinity, there is no crossing at imaginary axis or the real axis, so that's why it comes directly like that. And this is that Nyquist plot of this particular loop transfer function. And from here also it is clear that there is no encirclement, so that means that encirclement equal to 0, and here you can see that p equal to 0, no pole enclosed by this Nyquist contour. So that means according to the Nyquist criteria, z equal to 0. That means the closed loop system would be stable. So what we have discussed in this particular lecture, that means what is the Nyquist stability criteria, n equal to p minus z, and particularly we have learned that how to draw that Nyquist plot. So Nyquist plot means it is just a mapping of that Nyquist contour, and we have considered two cases. One is the loop transfer function without pole any imaginary axis, and this is actually the example where there is a pole on the imaginary axis. So for that one we need to follow this particular method, and we have seen that how to map that Nyquist contour in GH plane, and then we can apply that Nyquist stability criteria and conclude whether the closed loop system would be stable or not. So in next lecture we will be discussing some more concepts related to that Nyquist stability criteria, that is that gain margin, phase margin, and how that frequency domain specifications are related with the time domain specification. Then I'll complete this particular part. Thank you.